remaining 80% current affairs video and general studies complete videos, please subscribe to our complete package. 1. Modi launched Solar Alliance on first day of Paris Climate Summit. This topic will be important under General Studies Paper 3. Conservation of Environment, Solar Energy. Why recently in news? India launched an International Solar Alliance, ISA, at the COP21 climate conference. With an announcement by Prime Minister Modi that the revolution in the field would bring power to all citizens and create unlimited economic opportunity. The new body, which has invited all countries located fully or partly between the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn to join, is to function from the National Institute of Solar Energy in India, Gurgaon. India will provide land and $30 million to form a secretariat for the alliance, and also support it for 5 years. It will promote solar technologies and investment in the solar sector to enhance income generation for the poor and global environment. Mr. Modi said solar had created a revolution, as costs had declined sharply, technology continued to evolve and grid connectivity was improving. India's targets and aims in terms of renewable energy. Under Modi, India has scaled up its renewable energy target from 30 gigawatts by 2016-17 to 175 gigawatts by 2021-22. This target is expected to result in the reduction of 326.22 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent per year. Of this 175 gigawatts, the highest share would be of solar power. By 2030, India aims to make solar power account for around 18% of its power mix compared to the current 1%. According to the intended nationally determined contributions, INDCs, submitted by India, the country's target is to achieve 40% installed power capacity from renewable energy. About International Solar Alliance. ISA is conceived as a coalition of solar resource-rich countries to address their special energy needs. It seeks to share collective ambitions to reduce the cost of finance and technology to deploy solar power widely. It will ensure that generation and storage technologies would be adapted to the individual country's needs. The alliance would pursue cooperation in training, building institutions, regulatory issues, common standards, and investment including joint ventures. It will function from the National Institute of Solar Energy, Gurgaon. The way forward. The alliance, which would include around 50 African countries, would be a huge business opportunity for Indian companies. It is also likely to give the country a leadership role in solar power generation capacities. Africa is energy-rich, but large sections of population in many African countries still don't have electricity. India's Solar Alliance initiative is expected to fill that gap. It will also provide opportunities for Indian solar equipment manufacturing firms, who will be implementing any project under this scheme, which has been agreed upon by the Indian and African partner countries' governments. 2. Why India must up the stakes in Paris. This topic will be important under General Studies Paper 3. Climate Change, COP21 Paris. India's climate diplomacy must rise to the challenge. India should not hesitate to defend its interests at the climate negotiations. It should be careful to not paint itself into a corner. The Paris climate negotiations are a pivotal moment for global climate policy and carry huge implications for India's developmental future. In a political move, as a highly vulnerable country, with relatively high energy efficiency, low per capita carbon emissions, and a respectable track record of domestic initiatives, India has a good hand. But it has to play it well. How does India achieve both substantive and political objectives coming out of Paris? India needs to join the gathering consensus that the 2015 agreement will take the form of a legally binding treaty. To address its concerns about safeguarding development options within a legally binding treaty, India can and should negotiate for flexibility, procedural obligations and obligations of effort for itself. A treaty signals the highest expression of political will, generates accountability and predictability in implementation, and typically survives national political changes. Secondly, India needs to argue for a more effective review and update process. That includes regular, 5-year updates based on a global aggregate stock-taking of country contributions is in India's interest as a highly vulnerable country. How does a tailored approach to differentiation makes a difference? The tailored approach to differentiation will need to build on the notion of self-differentiation, in which countries implicitly place themselves along a spectrum of actions through their climate pledges. India could use a key idea at Paris, the progression principle. That each country moves over time to ever more ambitious pledges, to argue that progression should be based on current starting points which reflect developed and developing countries' differences.